Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us during Florida Shines Virtual College Week. My name is Nashla Dawari, and I'll be facilitating today's session, How to Start Smart and Finish Strong, with all the tools you need to help you be successful in an online course during your college journey. Now, before I begin, I want to go over a few items with you. If you have any questions during today's session, please put them in the question box and we will address them during the live Q&A at the end. Closed captioning is provided for this session by clicking the link in the chat box. Now, this session will be recorded and available on our website at floridashines.org. And finally, we are live on Twitter, so feel free to share your comments and connect with us at FL Shines. Thank you. Now, I'd like to introduce our speaker, Dr. Susan Kolarek. Dr. Kolarek has over 2 decades of research and publication focused on success in online learning. She leads the online learning and services team at St. Petersburg College, and she is with us today. Dr. Kolarek, we are very excited to have you and excited to get tips and best practices from your experience to be successful in the online environment. So the floor is all yours.
Thank you, and thanks to everyone for joining me. As mentioned, I'm Susan Kolarek, and I'm the Associate Vice President at St. Petersburg College, leading the online learning and services team. In that role, I work with a team to help students and faculty be more successful online, whether it's through course development, program improvements, software development, or most importantly, student success initiatives. So this session will provide a brief overview of some very easy tips that can help you identify strong online programs, and once you're enrolled, be very strong online. I've been working in the field for quite a while now, and some ideas have what we just call staying power. They're just shown to work. So we'll cover 4 items here. What to look for. I'm trying to get control here. There we go. What to look for, scheduling your class time, communicating with faculty, and knowing your resources. It's that simple, just 4 items. So let's start with what to look for. As you're finding out in your explorations for college, not every school is the same. You'll want to do your research just like this and find out what college or university and program fits your particular needs. General items that you're probably aware of are accreditation, and accreditation is a sign that a college complies with the rigorous standards and has a high commitment to quality. Choosing an accredited institution is important if you intend to transfer to another college or pursue additional degrees. Of course, you'll look at your cost and financial aid options. They are always a factor, and you might have attended the session earlier on that. And of course, academic programs. You want to make sure that they have the program that you're looking for. Even if the college is a prestigious college, if it doesn't offer the major you seek, you may not be in the best choice. So programs, including the curriculum, credit requires, and completion rates are important to look at when you're shopping around. You want to take a look at the professors. Who's going to be teaching your classes? Instructors will have a major impact on your college career. Look into the credentials of your professors and your intended program of study. They should be accomplished and respected in their academic communities and preferably have professional experience in their teaching areas. When it comes to looking at online programs, you'll also want to check out some additional items. Scheduling. Not all online classes are the same. Term lengths may vary, so you want to check out and make sure you're fitting in with your schedule. Shorter terms generally mean a heavy workload over that shorter time frame, and that makes sense when you break it down. So 8 weeks online for 3 credits is the same amount of work, the same amount of learning as 16 weeks for 3 credits. It's just in half the amount of time. One thing students get sometimes caught up in when they see those 8-week courses is thinking, oh, it'll be quicker or it'll be half the amount of work. It's the half the amount of work that's wrong. It is quicker, but you'll complete the same amount as if you were doing 16 weeks. You'll also want to get a general idea of the assignments. Some schools have self-paced programs, and that's very different from one that has weekly assignments and one that has weekly call-in assignments. So you may have a synchronous session. You want to look at the program and see what those flexible scheduling options are. Just make sure you know what you're signing up for. Technology requirements. Everyone assumes that it's online, so you need a computer, right? And often students will go to the library or borrow a computer, or if you're a working adult, you might try to use the computer in your office. But I'd strongly suggest that you need to own the equipment, to not depend on an office computer or the library, because you may not need to download course-specific software. Having one that's fairly new and fast will make your life easier. And if your online connection needs to be fast, connecting your laptop through your cell phone as a hotspot is possible and sometimes works, but it may frustrate you when you're doing a lot of coursework online. I also want to mention as well that a smartphone is helpful for keeping you connected to your classes, reading emails, checking grades, but it's insufficient for writing papers and taking tests. You really do need to have a computer. You may also need a webcam for tests or assignments, or a headset to participate in synchronous activities. For some programs, you may even need a way to record video. For instance, with our veterinary technician program, which is completely online, you need to be able to record and submit certain procedures to show that you can do them when caring for animals. So before you sign up for a program, make sure you're aware of all the technology requirements. You'll also want to find out if there are any campus requirements, such as proctored testing or on-campus sessions. And exactly what are those requirements, and will you be able to fulfill them? Proctored testing is typical, but not always the case with online courses. For instance, with us, it varies. Some courses have it and some don't. You can come to campus, but you can also do it remotely. So those are things you want to ask ahead of time. You may have an on-campus orientation for a particular program. It's not always the case, but in some instances it just makes sense. For instance, we have a mortuary science program that is completely online except for the orientation. The faculty want to make sure that the students coming into that program at the very beginning of the program are comfortable in that environment. So when you think about it, that makes sense. So you just want to check out and make sure that you're aware of what's happening. Tech support. Sometimes you might need some help. So you want to make sure that it's available to you 24/7, or at least during the hours that you normally study. For me, 2 a.m. wouldn't be that important because I'm not up then, but other people are. And academic support's the same way. Many students seek assistance for academic demands of higher ed. It's not a bad thing to seek out a tutor. It actually shows initiative and is expected in college. The college you choose should offer those online as well. So you want to look for online tutoring, support centers, and library resources online to help you succeed. In fact, the state of Florida has gotten together and has an Asking a Librarian program that is connected to all of our libraries, making that even easier for students. And again, you want to make sure they're available during the times that you'll be studying. It's easy enough to find that information when you go onto a college's website. too far. Okay, so once you're enrolled, you'll see if there is an orientation available online to help you get started. And do it. You'll often find that they're optional, but really there's a lot of information in there that you really want to pay attention to. So do everything they ask. When students start at SPC, we have them complete something called a student readiness survey, which helps you to determine what your strengths are and any areas of improvement. So if you took it and found out your time management skills weren't the greatest, you would be provided with some resources. You want to take advantage of those types of things, whatever school you're at. They will have some of those options available. Okay, so now you're ready. You've selected the right college and you're all oriented and it's time for class. So let's talk about making time for class. When you take a class on campus or have a meeting or appointment for work, you do a couple things, right? You set aside a specified amount of time and you prepare for that meeting. So let's say you have a class Monday and Wednesday evenings from 7 to 8:15 p.m. That time is set aside and you don't schedule anything else because you know you're going to be on campus. And you're going to spend some time preparing for that. Maybe reading and reviewing from 1 to 4 on Sundays so that you're prepared for the week. So 3 hours of class time is 6 hours of study time. And maybe one Sunday you have a family event and you forget to prepare or you only spend an hour. You're still going to class on Monday and Wednesday and thinking about the course materials. The problem with online is that you don't have that schedule. You don't have dedicated class time, which means you probably haven't dedicated your class prep time. Then the family event comes along and maybe a soccer game Monday night and a sick child on Tuesday, and pretty soon it's Thursday and you have an assignment due. You can't just squeeze in your learning. You can be a lot more flexible with your time, but you still need to dedicate specific time to learn. The best thing that you can do at the start of the term is to take your syllabus and put all of the dates for your assignments on one calendar. So you want to have one calendar for all of your courses. Many of your faculty will put dates in the learning management system, and that helps, but I would suggest maintaining a calendar for yourself where you can schedule not only the due dates for all your courses, but also schedule when you're going to work on those things. You may even want to print a copy to put on the fridge or at work or in your car, wherever you'll see reminders. So if you're taking Composition 1, for instance, a pretty typical course in the beginning, you'll have some essays due. There are readings associated with that, discussions to help you focus in on important concepts. Maybe an outline or draft is due, and those are all worth points to your grade, and then the final essay. Estimate how much time you'll need for each of those and actually put it on your calendar and stick to it. Sure, you can be flexible if you need to stay late at work or help your daughter with her homework, but when you have it on your calendar, you can reschedule your class time and make sure it actually happens. Our lives are busy. You need to make time for what you value, and you value getting your degree. Now let's talk a little bit about communicating with faculty. Let's say you're in that composition class on Monday night on a campus in a classroom, and you had a question as the professor is going through the material. You would just raise your hand and ask, right? Or if you had something that you thought only you didn't get, you might come to the classroom early or stay a little late and talk to the instructor and ask a question. The same thing needs to happen in an online class. You want to reach out when you don't understand something. If it's a general question like one where you would raise your hand in class, you might post it to a discussion forum so that your classmates can see. Or if it's a personal circumstance or something you want to review in private, you would send an email or give the faculty member a call. Online doesn't have to be restricted to online. Reach out with a phone call as well. The thing is that you have to be in charge. You have to take charge and be willing to reach out. Makes sense, right? We haven't figured out a way to see that puzzled look on your face. We haven't found a good way to do that yet online. So if you find yourself reading and rereading something and you feel your forehead getting all tight and tense, maybe you need some help, and that's okay. That is exactly what your instructors are here for, to help you learn. But with online, you have to be more responsible for reaching out and saying that you need the help. There is going to be a delay between the time you ask and the response. Faculty aren't robots lurking in the background 24 hours a day waiting for a question to come in. So plan that in as well. You may not get an immediate response. And if you're up against a deadline, that can be a problem. Which takes us back to planning your time carefully and making sure you have that time built in. And finally, I want to make sure that you know about the resources that are available, such as office hours. Most faculty will hold office hours utilizing a web conferencing software such as this, or even just be in the classroom chat area to help you out during particular hours. Reach out and let them know that you're there as well. Let them know when you have a question. Make sure you're asking what it is that you need to ask. Other resources that you want to know about, let's see, going back to step one, you've made that commitment that the school has the online resources that you need. So the school is working very hard to make sure that you have the resources, whether you're in the classroom or online. And this includes library resources, technical help, tutoring, either in workshops or individually. Know what these are available for you. Know how to get to them. Is there a website that has information that's specifically for students who are already connected to the college, rather than students who are thinking of applying to the college? Is there an online database that has common student questions? At SPC, we have something called the LMS Support and Student Services Hub. You want to make sure you know what that resource is so that you can look up quick, frequently asked questions. Library services. Google knows a lot, but it's not always the best choice for academic papers. The colleges and universities in Florida, as I mentioned earlier, work together to make sure that you have access to library resources for doing your research. Most of the materials are completely online. You can also email, chat, or text directly with a librarian when you have a question. And again, they're there for you. They want to help you. That's what they do. So take advantage of that. And there's usually resources available to help you get started with your research. Usually they're called library guides or LibGuides, and you'll find them on your college's website. Asking a question of a tutor, librarian, or faculty member isn't a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of intelligence that you're working with an expert to help you learn more. So I really want you to keep that in mind. And finally, let's get back to that tutoring. Think of it this way. Tutoring is part of a healthy academic diet. Think about what you eat. If you're like most people, you try to eat nutritious foods to stay healthy. Working with a tutor can be the same thing. Attending an online workshop for study skills or working one-on-one can help you focus and stay headed in the right direction. Eating the right foods is also sometimes a matter of survival. If you have a health condition that needs immediate attention, you might meet with a nutritionist to turn things around. Tutoring can work that way as well. Know what the options are that are available to you. Can online students use the tutoring support services on campus if you live near one and want to come in? Or are there tutoring services completely online? Are there individual sessions that you can drop into, or do you schedule a time? It's going to vary by college and also by the semester. For instance, this semester we have online Spanish tutoring available every Tuesday from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. And it's a drop-in session. You don't have to register ahead of time. You can just drop in if you want to review that week's exercises. So this time I want to open it up for questions. I went through that perhaps a little quickly, but I want to make sure that I'm able to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Dr. Kolarek. Certainly, we want to encourage our audience to submit any questions you have via the chat box or the question box. And while we're preparing those, I really appreciated your breakdown with the time management. I think sometimes the perception is that online courses are not as rigorous, or you don't need to invest as much time to be successful. But that's definitely a myth. I really appreciated your breakdown. And we do have a question related to that. For students who are working full-time, is there a recommended amount of credits that they should be looking at? Given the study time and the class time that you mentioned, what is your recommendation?
Sure. You want to look at a couple things. How long is the semester? So is it 5 weeks long, which would be very quick and you'd only want to attempt one? Or is it 8 weeks long? Is it 16 weeks long and you think you could do 3? Or maybe 8 weeks, you want to do 1 the first week when your kids have a heavier work schedule if you're a working parent, and then do 2 the second time. You want to take all of that into consideration. What is your personal schedule? What is your work schedule, if that's a factor? And then what is your family schedule? And then take a look at what class options are there. I strongly suggest that you start slow. Start with 1 class or 2 classes and see how it goes. If it's an 8-week course, try just 1 class to start with. It's better to be successful slowly than be overwhelmed from the beginning. And you mentioned a good point there about scheduling your time and the difference between online and in the classroom. In a classroom, you can kind of hide in the back if you haven't done the readings for that week, and you can actually, most students who are smart would hide in the middle of the classroom because we look for the folks in the back and the front. But if you might get away with not being called on to answer a question that week, but in the online environment, every student answers every question. You can't hide in the back. So you do have to be prepared, and you have to be prepared to do the work that's there. This can be a real benefit though. So suppose maybe you're shy about speaking up in class, but you like to think through your answer, and you have 3 or 4 days where you can formulate the best answer possible and post that. So there's benefits to the online environment as well for those who might be a little hesitant to speak out. You can build up your confidence that you do actually know this material.
Absolutely. And you know what? I always thought about the back. So now I know that the middle of the classroom is much better. But absolutely. Now, in terms of, for students who are fully committing to a semester online or possibly a program online, is it still a good idea for them to physically visit the campus and sort of understand what resources are there, or are those things that they can do online as well?
If you're going to be an online student and you may not live near your online classes, so you know, most of St. Pete's students who are online live within 4 counties, but some of them never come to campus, and others are located in other states. We have 18 students who live in California. They've never been to our campus and probably won't until graduation. They often come for graduation, and that might be the first time they've been on campus. So it's not necessary. If you want to have that option to take some classes face-to-face and some online, then you want to go and figure that out. But if you're going to be completely online, maybe because of your work schedule or just a matter of preference, then you want to make sure that you can do everything you need to online. And as I mentioned, online doesn't mean just reading and writing. You might be asked to do a video of some type or to demonstrate something and be able to videotape that. So you want to look at those requirements and just be comfortable with that. A lot of students who are online come to campus to take a math course. Maybe they're worried about taking math online and they'd rather do it with a faculty member. That's perfectly fine. And in fact, you could take a program, say at SPC, but if you're near Santa Fe Community College, you could go there for your math class and transfer it. So there's a lot of flexibility now for students. You really are able to tailor it for just what you need.
Absolutely. So lots of options there. Along with that, Dr. Kolarek, when you think about student activities, extracurricular activities, and other pieces that are part of the full college journey, are there areas for students that they need to be looking out for that may not be available to them if they're fully committing to an online program?
Sure, that's a good point. You want to take into consideration what is the requirements of the school or the opportunities at the school. So for instance, UCF, University of Central Florida, has a very strong online program, and it's actually a little bit less expensive than attending on campus. But what you don't get are tickets to basketball games or use of athletics facilities. So if those things are important to you, you want to check and see if they're available to students. In Pinellas County, all of the St. Pete students can ride the bus for free. That's not a perk that's going to be necessary for most online students, but you want to check into that as well. I think we're doing a better job with student interest clubs and how to do those online. We have a system called Workplace that's fairly similar to Facebook. In fact, it's put out by Facebook. It's one of their products. And you can join the photography club or the single moms club, and it's a support group. Or Women on the Way, which is an opportunity to have a mentor online to help you move forward and stay focused on your classes. So I think most schools are getting better at that. And trying to offer that full college experience if that's what a student is looking for.
Absolutely. So definitely looking at needs and wants to find that best fit for the student. Dr. Kolarek, we do not have any more questions at this time. We're certainly happy to follow up with any additional questions that come afterwards, but I want to thank you for sharing such a wealth of resources and tips with us today. And as a reminder to our audience, the recorded session, along with any materials shared today, will be posted on our website at floridashines.org. Now, if you'd like to learn more about how parents can help in the college transition process, you can join us next at 6 o'clock this afternoon, and you can sign up for Virtual College Week at floridashines.org as well. So again, Dr. Kolarek, thank you for being with us today, and thank you for joining us.
You're welcome, and thanks for having me.
Have a great evening.
You too.